In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is Another Pointless Automotive Podcast.
What's revving your engine?
What? Whoa, that was on the nose for sure, man.
Yes.
I think we want to talk about engines today.
Oh boy.
We've never really had an engine sewed.
And is that an engine motor, the Motorama edition? Like, I don't know.
I think it is.
Engine sewed. Sure. Sure. Why not?
So yeah, we always talk about engines we like, historically, modern, whatever. And there's reasons to love every engine and application thereof.
Right.
So we finally made the decision after coming together for many hours debating. Just kidding.
Definitely.
It was like a 5-minute phone call.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly. What do we want to do tomorrow, bro?
Do you know what engines are? Yeah, I know a little bit. Let's do it.
Exactly. Yes. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. In various configurations.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we wanted to kind of draw the lines in the sand.
And then we talked about engines after we talked
did.
about those things.
We did. Whilst you were working on one.
Yeah.
And I was like losing things in my garage. So it
combo.
worked out. Yeah. It's on brand, I think. But we discussed saying, hey, why don't we pick out some of our favorites, but let's organize it by cylinder count.
That sounds reasonable. Sounds very reasonable.
Fun, reasonable, exciting, palatable.
So do we skip 3 cylinders, or are you going to throw a Geo Metro at me and call it a day?
I have owned a 3-cylinder. I did the Suzuki G10 powered Geo Metro, the 1 liter. Brilliant as far as like service engineering.
Oh yeah,
is concerned, because every part is like monstrously inexpensive.
I'm a little shocked you didn't lead off with acceleration, but yeah.
No, well, here's the thing. I actually like the sound of a 3-cylinder. I think they sound cool.
But that one.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's zero sporting pretenses at all.
Yeah.
But easy to work on. The cylinder head's the size of a $5 foot long. It's probably not even actually. It's probably shorter than a foot long. But yeah, the only other 3-cylinder I've personally had experiences was another 1 liter, a Toyota though. So I went to Europe. My brother lived in the UK for a moment in time and rented a car and just drove around the UK. We rented I believe it was called a Toyota Aygo, Aygo.
Okay.
Which I think may or may not be like Daihatsu related, but it had a little 3-cylinder with like a 5-speed. Automated manual.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's just city car, but
yeah.
we probably put 1,800 miles on that thing over the course of 10 days.
Heck yeah.
Sips fuel. It was serviceable. Yeah. It was fun. Sips petrol.
You never drove like a Subaru Justy here stateside?
I've never driven a Justy, and that was a 1200 cc, right? I think a 1.2.
Yeah.
Never driven a Justy, and I have certainly not driven the new standard bearer in the 3-cylinder world, which is the Corolla GR and the Yaris GR.
Yep.
Or GR Yaris. The GR's first? It's a GR Corolla,
yeah,
not a Corolla GR,
I think it
right?
is GR first, yeah.
The Corolla. So yeah, how about you? Have you played with any 3-cylinders?
I've driven the Metro. I got to drive that. I've driven a Justy back in the day.
Oh,
I'd love to have it go in the more modern iteration of the Fiesta ST with the one, I don't even know the
The 1 liter EcoBoost?
Yeah, I think they have a slightly bigger one too. The 3-cylinder like ST version is actually 200 horsepower.
Oh boy!
So it's like legit. I'd love it going that for sure. Those cars are beautiful, but yeah, let's just step ahead.
You want to add one?
Oh, what?
Cylinder.
To go to 4?
Go to 4.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good starting ground, I think.
And one that's probably wrought with choices, right? Like there's a lot of good. It's funny, like as many as there are good 4-cylinders, I would say out of all of the other categories, it's also probably the most forgettable engines on the planet. Many of them are 4-cylinders.
They were kind of a joke, right? 4-banger, was a sad thing to add onto your vehicle back in the day because there were V6s running around.
Oh, I know, those GM31s and those
my gosh.
Ford 2.9s that just like would wipe cylinder heads out at all times.
Exactly, yeah, the big stuff, the big displacement.
Oh boy.
But yeah, what do you got? I want to hear your 4-cylinder lineup because I know you're going to have some good stuff in there. We're probably going to have, not going to lie, we're going to have a lot of overlap, I think.
Oh, for sure. And I added a bunch of random things on my list here just because I tried for the most part to stick with stuff that I've actually had some time with.
Same.
Right? Like I don't want to just be coming through and be like, well, on paper the new the 3-cylinder Toyota turbocharged motor. Like
sure.
I'm assuming it's a good motor. It sounds like it's a good motor.
Output.
Early reports are in.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Output-wise, it probably crushes everything on our list, but
Damn
definitely
near.
for displacement.
Damn near. Yeah. So, I think one that's probably on your list, it would probably be on everyone's list. It's kind of the quintessential screamer. It's the Honda F20C.
Oh,
So that's
what
the
an engine.
That's the S2000 motor.
Yep.
I've driven the F20C.
That's the AP1, right?
That's the AP1.
Yep.
I've driven it before. I have way more time though with the F22, which is the 2.2 liter motor. So it went from the 9,000 RPM red line down to 8,200, but you get a better torque,
Quicker
bump.
torque, more reliable. I get it.
Yeah, I mean presumably they're both pretty equally reliable. I think. But what a just absolute riot of an engine.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you have to keep it wrung out, but it's a Honda product, so you're like, okay, I'll do that. Like
This is gonna be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll do it all day long. It wants to be there. It's in the right car. Sometimes you have a good
Right.
motor that's in just like a ho hum vehicle,
Sure.
or saddled by something that's too heavy. Not the case. It's the right car with the right motor, and I like it. I
Yeah.
dig it. I'm into it. I think it's probably. Is it on your list? Did it make it?
That didn't even make my list.
Oh,
It completely skipped my brain. But now that you're saying it, that is
I feel like that's
phenomenal.
that might be the standard bearer. You can go like Honda K20 or the K series, K24 and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but-
maybe. Or B series. The B series is fiercely popular. Like B16s. I know now the
Probably.
K series for sure, but back in the day, like a B16 was a hot engine.
lukewarm take.
Oh.
Honda is the standard bearer for 4 cylinders, right? Like there's no. If you had to pick a manufacturer that says, okay, like if we had to have like the World Series of 4 cylinders, they would be the gold medalist. I think perennial. I can't say the word all of a sudden.
Perennially?
Yeah, not perennially. That's a different.
Yeah, that's a
perennially.
little more intimate.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I didn't even put a Honda engine on my 4-cylinder list.
Oh, damn! Look at that. Maybe there will be less crossover, but that would be I think the leader in the
Definitely a standout. Personality-wise, you can't beat it.
yeah
got a
personality.
lot of
It's
character.
reliable.
Red line.
It's in a good car, and it just screams. It just makes all and it sounds good. It sounds good. You get
Really
the
good.
VTEC changeover. It's NA, which is a dying breed nowadays.
Yeah.
So I that's the top of my list. What else? What do you got in the
Well,
4-cylinder?
you better have this one on your list. 4G63.
I don't have the 4G63 on here. I do not. Good engine, but I think in stock form,
Well,
it's a good engine. It's a very good engine. But that's I think part of the legend of that engine. It's like the 2JZ, which is also not on my list.
You're right.
It's the 4-cylinder version of the 2JZ, which both of them are very good motors. They're robust, but they're great when it comes to tuning and being able to just stuff huge amounts of power into it and
That's the
not
thing,
blink.
right? So the 4G63 is longevity. Mitsubishi's shoehorned that thing into vehicles starting in the late 80s all the way up to the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I think 85. I think.
Yeah. So we're talking an engine. It changed obviously over that. They added like variable valve timing, other things, But still, tuning potential. Yes, I put that on my list. I put it on for availability because it was in everything, every DSM, every Evo, every Galant, and some other oddities. And then potential from stock, even being stock, even just turning the damn boost up. Very few engines can take that. Right, especially modern engines, and the 4G63 internals are so strong. Like there's lots of people getting 500 wheel horsepower on stock internals, and for that alone, that's a legendary thing, right? I know that,
and that's what builds the legend. That's how you end up with Vin Diesel and friends in the first Fast and Furious talking about overnighting parts from Japan.
Yeah.
And that's why a Supra twin turbo, instead of being a $40,000 car now for a nice one, is a $120,000 car for a nice one.
But 4G6
because of just the legendary buildability of that motor. And you're right, that the 4G63 that's what that is.
And it's so much more available and affordable. You can still go get a DSM for not that much,
Yeah.
not comparatively
good luck
to
finding
what it was.
Good luck finding a stock clean one is a challenge.
But
that speaks to what you're talking about.
That power plant's awesome. I mean, there's some reliability issues. Maintenance is big, like any performance engine, but I mean, God,
60,000 mile timing belt interval, which is kind of unheard of now.
Yeah, well, Mazda's the same way, but at least this one's interference, so that's a pain in the butt.
Yes.
But it's, I'm going to put it up there because the potential and just its history.
Yeah.
What a heritage.
Definitely. No, it's a good one. And yeah, longevity. I have another one that's wildly different,
Oh.
but similar when it comes to talking about longevity and heritage. That's the BMW M10.
Okay.
Which the M10 was in the 2002.
Yep.
That was in the E21. So that would be the first gen 3 Series, the 320i and IS. And then the majority of the run of the E30 chassis in the 318.
Yep.
Very end of the run, it got replaced by the, is it the M42? I don't exactly remember what they call that four-cylinder.
That sounds just about
where you
right.
have like the modern twin cam.
Yep.
Versus this was an old school single overhead cam. Almost like a fancier, like L18 and L20 out of the Nissan Datsun stuff.
Kind of.
Kind of, but
And
they never made massive power out of the box.
no, it
But
was conservative.
but brutally reliable.
Yeah.
And they just powered a lot of fun cars. Like
Sure, they stuck it in a lot of stuff.
I mean, and that motor, I don't want to say made BMW, but kind of, right? Because the 2002 and the Neue Klasse, and those are what saved BMW. And that engine, I think, is kind of the key
It's a goodie.
the key piece of that.
Yeah.
And I've driven it in a couple 2002s. I beat the snot out of an E21. It was an original IS car. Fun little car.
Yeah.
Not a lot of power, but really lively back end, limited slip from the factory. I think it was only good for 110 horsepower, not even that.
But it's
Fuel
contemporaries.
injected.
You're talking early 80s. I mean.
Yeah, this was an 82.
Yeah. So I mean,
So
at
yeah, it
that
was
time.
on par.
Yeah.
And that engine, at that point, that engine was already almost 15 years old.
Sure. Yeah.
So, just a really cool little engine, not flashy, but kind of got the job done in a way that was mildly performance oriented.
Yeah.
It didn't leave you wanting that badly as much as you could think it would be on paper. So,
Right.
You got anything else in your four cylinder?
I'm going to stick with things I'm familiar with.
Boy.
Nissan's SR20.
Yeah, not on my list, but it should be. That's a good motor.
Boy, turbo or naturally aspirated. Just a high revving 2-liter dual overhead cam engine from the early 90s. Again, that really 140 horsepower, naturally aspirated, but still revved to 7,700 RPM. They stuck it in everything.
Smooth.
Super smooth, super reliable.
Yeah, that's kind of a big thing for me, especially in four cylinders. I don't know why, but I feel like that engine does not leave you. You don't worry about it.
No,
you can beat on it hard for a long time, and it will keep asking for more. It doesn't. You don't get any weird rattles or idle issues or temp creep or nothing.
No,
it just
we're
just
also
smash on it.
The thing is too, you're also talking about a timing chain engine, which is kind of unheard of in Japanese four cylinders at that time.
At the time, it's way more popular now.
Yeah, everything was timing belt. This was a timing chain without all the modern timing chain issues or what the German cars were experiencing during this time period, right?
Yeah, timing chain stretch and guide issues.
Guides falling apart, made of plastic marbles in your timing cover.
Yes.
But yeah, this was, so you got a timing chain, you got the high revving nature, super reliable, good torque output too. Had a solid torque output. It came in, the Sentra SCR, the B13 one we all love, the NX 2000, and not, God forbid, all the 180 SXs or 240, the real ones.
Right, the stuff we never got. Yeah, the S13s and the
so
S14s.
I put that up there as a legendary engine, and it can take to mods really well. So again, it's similar to the 4G63. And I've experienced quite a few SR20s, and what a power plant! What a great that legendary four cylinder.
Yeah, that 2-liter four cylinder across the board. It's just the right.
Class,
it's just the right recipe. Every manufacturer's got a good one in their stable for the most part.
You have to, yeah.
Does Ford? I don't know.
Maybe
Europe? Maybe in Europe.
They had the Focus ST was running a 2-liter turbo.
Okay, I guess. I'm just thinking of the prime four-cylinder NA era.
What did the SVT have in it? The Focus SVT.
The Focus
was that a 2-liter?
Ooh, you might be right. It's
that was a sweet
I don't think
power
it's a
plant.
2.3. I think it's.
I thought it was a 2.
I think it is a 2-liter. Was that the Z-Tech?
Yeah, and
Z-E-T-E-C?
massaged. I don't know. How do you massage a Ford Focus SVT? I think Cosworth had their hands in the head designs. That might be wrong, but I think I remember that.
Well, what's interesting is, and speaking of head design, is there's a. I'll double back to this, but Cosworth big on head design, and we'll probably bump into this later in a couple of places on the list, maybe. Yamaha,
Right.
heavy in cylinder head design, and one of the ones that they did a design for in the 4-cylinder world is probably, I don't know if it's on your list. It might be, and if it is, I'll leave it. But the other one I know they did from the same manufacturer is the 3S GE and GTE. That's the Toyota motor. That was the 2-liter. In the second gen MR2 was the turbocharged version, 200 horsepower, 3S GTE.
Pretty stout, yeah.
That was a Yamaha designed head, and the NA version. When I was in college, I bought my then girlfriend, now wife's.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that still.
Yeah, it's okay.
Not everything pans out.
Yeah, well, sometimes you go to college to find your wife. Sometimes you go to slave hood rats. I met my wife. She had a 240-something thousand mile 86 Accord LXI, also with a 2-liter,
Pretty
4-cylinder.
Yeah.
But it eventually,
Pretty cool
more things were wrong with it. I ended up trading it to a friend for a very nice Osprey backpack and a set of hiking boots.
Yeah, you told me that was a good trade.
It was a good trade.
Good
And
trade.
then I replaced her daily driver with an 86 Celica GTS
Of course you would.
coupe.
Yeah.
Really low miles. I think I had like 70,000 miles at the time. I paid $1,500 for it.
That's incredible.
Automatic, sadly, but it was a GTS, so you got the 3S GE Yamaha headed version.
That's right. Yeah.
135 horsepower, not a lot, but it actually ran really hard for what it was. And at the end of that run, that same motor, they had like variable valve timing, and it was over 200 horsepower.
Yeah, that with a stick would be very convincing to hold on to today.
Yeah,
Switch
yeah,
that
those
with
are
a
those are
manual?
fun, especially if you put the later motor in it with
gosh,
the 200
yeah.
horsepower. Have your own little counterfeit Type R type situation.
The SR20 had the Neo VVL
Yep.
engine that was 200 horsepower that a lot of people swap into these.
Yeah, and they had
NA
those
cars.
in the was it the Pulsar GTIR?
Yep, and you can drop it right in like a Sentra or an NX2000, have a hell of a car.
Yeah, so that one, and then on the other end, the non-performance and that same family breed, the 5SFE Toyota Camry 4-cylinder. It was in the Camrys and the Celicas.
Rock solid.
Absolute bulletproof.
Yep.
Be like, oh, it's got oil sludging issues. It's like, it'll still go 800,000 miles with like a whole drivetrain full of mud. Like, it doesn't matter.
Oil change every 5 years.
Yeah, so good motor there. Do you have anything? I don't want to talk 4-cylinders all day. We got other stuff going on.
Let me close that real quick. I gotta mention the Mazda BP engines, the 1.6 and 1.8, because not only did they get pushed into a lot of other cars, it's just like a great engine. I mean, you're talking dual overhead cam design. Output wasn't super high for displacement, but these things are rock solid, non-interference engines, and who doesn't love a Miata? I mean, they rev nice and they're dependable. I also wanted to yell out real quick to our favorite Quad 4 design.
I know, I've got that on my list. But that was one of those ones I've never actually driven anything Quad 4 powered, so it's kind of, I kind of am hesitant to put it in on my list just because I don't have anything in any real seat time with it. One quick honorable mention that I do want to give a shout out to from Subaru. Not a flat 4 though. This is going to be the Subaru Clover 4, which is what's in my little sandbar van. 660cc, 45 horsepower. But if you look at like specific output, it's pretty good. It revs I think 8,500 is the red line on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
My car doesn't have a tax, so
I don't know why that skipped my mind, man. We're talking about 4G63s and S2000 engines. How did that skip my mind, man?
Yeah. So, right, exactly. The Clover 4. But it's just a fun little engine. It's I don't know. It's interesting. They're very reliable. I've got just over like 60-something thousand miles on it.
Yeah.
And
Sweet.
you're constantly pinned, and it doesn't give you any grief. Real quick, what's the worst 4-cylinder?
Jeez, I don't know, man. Probably whatever they stuck in like a Kia Rio or something at that time.
Could be.
Like probably 80 to 90 horsepower, anemic.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like the GM Iron Duke. Which was in everything, the 2.2 and the 2.5 liters.
In my Corsica.
Corsica.
92 horsepower out of a 2.2 liter.
Yeah, and then you had the
Barf.
probably this is going to put people to sleep, but real quick, you ever heard of a short-lived French manufacturer called Facil Vega?
No.
They were in like the 50s to like I think the mid 60s.
That's your stretch for bad four cylinders. That's where we're going.
Well, here's the thing. It literally, the four cylinder. They tried to make like a popular car, a little 2-seat sports car called the Facil Vega Facilia. And
just wanted to hear you say that.
Exactly. Well, it literally ended the company. That's how bad the four-cylinder was. So they decided they shipped it out to they sublet it out to some manufacturer that was like, oh yeah, we'll make you a badass little four-cylinder to put in this thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we're like gods of metallurgy. And so we designed a new bearing design that for the camshaft, overhead cam four-cylinder, you only need 2 bearings, just one on either end. That's it. That's all you got. We're so far ahead of the game.
Sure.
That like it'll be limited wear and whatever, just 2 bearings. Every single one of them failed to the point where like nobody bought the cars. They had to buy back every engine, and they started putting like Volvo B18s in it, which are great. That's a great motor too.
Much better.
But at that point, it literally killed the car. The company doesn't exist because of that engine. That's how bad.
R.I.P.
That's how bad. Exactly.
Deservedly
That's how bad
so.
it is. Yeah.
So are we jumping to 6, or are we going to do a quick shout out to 5 cylinders?
I have to shout out 5 cylinders.
Okay.
I don't have a ton of experience. I've never actually owned a 5-cylinder car. I've worked on some 5-cylinder Volvos and such.
I had an S40 T5, so I did have a 5-cylinder for a bit.
You know how I said I like the sound of a 3-cylinder? I love the sound of a 5-cylinder.
So good.
5-cylinder sounds so cool.
If we had the old Focus RSs from Europe, how nice would that be?
Sure. Yeah, but even just like that Volvo modular 5-cylinder, that was the 2.4, the 2.3, the 2.5 that they ran in everything.
Yep.
You had in the S60R and the V70R.
The T5s.
The T5s and the 850s. They sound good. They make good power. Relatively reliable. You keep the timing
pretty
set
stout.
in.
Yeah.
You know, relatively easy to work on. Parts are kind of pricey sometimes, but good. And then, of course, you've got the Audi R5.
Sure.
Motor, which was, it's in anything from the RS3 down to, some of the older Audis.
Stick that in a
80s,
TTRS? Or?
They
Didn't
did.
they? Yeah.
That was a TT.
What an application.
Yep.
Kind of
and it's still that motor's still alive. They're still in the new RS3. By the way, if you can't hear some random noises in the background, if you haven't noticed, if you're watching along with the video, we are on a field trip again. We are hanging out at Car Park here in lovely Pleasanton, California.
Right.
They're getting a fancy new lift put in today.
Ooh.
To add to their stable of things. So if you hear some people listening to music while they work, we're not one to interrupt them. So you might hear that in the background. You might hear air tools. You know what? I think it just adds. It adds to the allure, the sound effects, the ambiance.
In case that wasn't the giveaway, this Senna behind us.
What's the Senna?
This thing behind us.
That thing.
Yeah, we're not in my garage.
Yeah. Yet. If you play, if we get 1 or 2 sponsors, maybe we'll have
It'll be
money
similar.
to have your garage will look like this.
Yeah, if we're in my garage and you see a similar backdrop, just know I'm going through something with the IRS. And
exactly.
Let's not talk about it too much.
Yeah. No. Talk about what?
Well, hey.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
You got any other sleeper 5-cylinders?
That's it.
Shout out
The
before we
Volvo.
go to the world of 6?
The Volvo. Same with me. I love it. It's
That's
just
a good motor.
what a sneaky little engine to drop into a plain looking car. I thought it was cool, and I had an S40. Loved it.
S40. I'd like an 850R, but were those all automatics?
In the States, they were.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, well.
People swap them over, but it's a pretty pricey endeavor, I guess.
C'est la vie. Well, you know what? I've heard 6 follows 5. We're not to because 7, 8, 9 yet. Although if you have a favorite 7-cylinder, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
In the world of 6-cylinders, do we want to cut this up? Do we want to go like V6, inline 6? Do we want to just go all 6 all time?
We're very free form, so just feel free to
Six-pack?
interject here.
No, we're very regimented and serious here. Hold on, let me find. What's this? Oh, the rim shot. Perfect.
Oh.
That's
Switch.
fitting. So, how many 6-cylinders? There's some good ones. There's some poor ones. Start us off, my friend.
So I had a 93 NSX with a very sweet. It's a V6, so a lot of eyes rolling. But anyway, dual overhead cam V6 that had an amazing red line, had great power output for its displacement at the time, and was dead nuts reliable. So that gets you on my list when you do things like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. V6. V6 get a certain amount of hate. And I'm mostly team inline 6.
Sure.
If I had my choice, but I get it. And I think there is a certain You kind of get a little bit of a bonus if you're the manufacturer that engineers like the very, very nice V6.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like if you pull it off.
I mean, I get it. It's packaging, right? Like, not all
Sure.
cars have the long hood to
You know,
accommodate.
same manufacturer. Part of the honorable mention is the same the Honda J30 series. So that's basically the V6 in your Accord.
Yep, great engine. Single overhead
Single
cam,
overhead
VTEC.
cam, VTEC, just strong, stout, reliable.
Great engine. It's pretty much the same as the 3.2 liter. They just
Yep.
a little more displacement, a little more tweaking, a little more power.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
Great engine.
Another one I in the V6 world that I really like is the 2GR FSE Toyota product. So that's the 3.5 liter that you got in the IS 350.
Yep.
306 horsepower, I think it is.
Yeah,
The
stout.
GS 350.
Man,
The only knock on that engine is that they never put it in something truly, truly fun.
no manual. It was always paired with an auto.
Unless you purchased a Lotus.
True.
If you went and you
Okay.
went out and
Yes.
got yourself a Lotus Evora,
Yep.
2+2, you can get it in NA guise in supercharged fashion.
It's a shame Lexus didn't drop a manual in like a special IS 350. That could have been nice. That
You
could
can
have
get
been
it in a
sporty.
250. Yeah.
Not a fan of that engine at all.
No.
2.5 with just over 200 ponies. And
Yeah, not super great fuel economy.
No, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, what's interesting is, you know, the little convertible one, they had the IS like 350 and 250C.
That's right.
The two-door convertible.
Yep.
You can get that with the 250 engine and a 6-speed manual in the
That's
convertible.
pretty
Which is,
cool.
they probably made like 7 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that motor specifically, the 2GR, great engine, stupid reliable. They put it in everything from Siennas to Evoras.
Sure. Yeah.
And when it's in the right, you know, kind of like when I was saying earlier, like the F20C is the right motor in the right car. There's a lot of instances where this is the right motor in the wrong car, right?
Sure,
Like a Sienna, or your Camry, your base Camry. But you put it in the right car, and you got a whole. It just makes it feel like, oh wow, it's a wonderful engine. It's
Great
just,
V6.
It's just got to be in the right platform. What other 6 cylinders you got?
Gotta go with flat sixes. I think that's a
Oh,
silly
yeah.
thing to pass on.
Yeah, I've got one on here. I'm curious if it's the same one.
Well, I mean, I'm going through my
Stuff you
Cayman S
know.
right now,
Yeah.
so it's not hard to work on in a mid-engine configuration. You pull your wheel liners off, I can get to my spark plugs. Take that, Subaru guys.
And that's a 3.6, yeah.
3.4.
Oh, there's a 3.4. Okay.
Yeah.
3.4. And that's was it M96?
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
For the 987.1s and 2s. I think they slightly changed some things for the 2s, but yeah, but it's super reliable. And there's just something. I think those early Porsches. I know they went to the 4-cylinder turbos, and there was a lot of
Guffawing.
a lot of like shaking fists.
Right,
and-
yelling at
in
clouds.
Porsche. But no, it's a great engine. It definitely fits the vehicle. Like, I get why they went with it, keeping the weight down with the space they were trying to fit it into. It fits perfect. Accessibility is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a tradition. And I'm always a fan of like doing something different, right? Like Subaru does the flat 4 thing, and that's what makes a Subaru.
Right.
I guess the commercial tries to convince you that it's all-wheel drive, but or safety. Is that what it is when they do their thing? That's what makes a Subaru. Or is it like love?
It's love.
Sorry,
man.
it's love.
Yeah,
It's
which is
love.
a flat 4.
It
apparently.
is heart, wind, earth. The flat 6 is a tried and true Porsche tradition, and
Yep.
they've cornered the market on it.
I'd
Subaru
say
SVX
so.
aside.
Yeah. Well, Subaru had some own. They had the 3.6R.
The 3.6R,
jammed
the
in through
3.0R,
I think
the
the
2.7 and the XT6.
Oh boy.
But no, yeah, that's a good one. And the flat 4 that I've driven a little bit. I've probably maybe 50 miles behind the wheel of the 4-liter.
Yeah.
So in a 993 a 991.2 GT3 6-speed.
Hell of a power
Just
plant.
absolutely silly motor. If I had to pick the single best engine I've ever driven is that one.
Yeah, it's something special.
Toyota had Yamaha do the head on the 3M, which was the 2000 GT motor.
That's right.
Which is 150 horsepower out of 2 liters in 1965, which is insanity.
Yeah, but stuck inside one of the most gorgeous vehicles.
Gorgeous, well-built, handsome pieces of machinery ever built. And so, they had Toyota they had design on for the Celica Supra and the Cressida, mostly here.
That's true.
It's not going to be on anyone's list, but I've had a bunch of them. They're easy to work on. Very pretty looking engine, which is silly, but it is. Just smooth. Just real smooth, reliable. Doesn't have the same head gasket issues as some of the later cars.
Sure.
With the 7M. But just a good inline six. I'm assuming you've got one other. Do you have any other 6-cylinders on your list? I'm assuming you've got another Yamaha-headed.
Whoa! I just reminded me, but I did pick a straight six that a lot of people recognize, especially stateside, because it's the first time we really got to experience a high output M3.
S54?
S54, baby. There's just something about that engine. It's got so much character. It's so howly. It's so high revving. The output is.
I just came back from Hawaii, and so howly has a different meaning over there.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. I have a base tan now.
But the way it sounds and the power output, especially over the E36 we got here, what a jump. What a massive jump.
I really like that engine, except for one thing.
Yeah?
The exhaust note is garbage.
It could be remedied.
It can be remedied if you spend some money, but you got to do exhaust, and you got to do header, and you got to do intake. You can fix it. But just out of the box, I don't know why. It just sounds like tinny and gravelly and rattly's not the right term, but I don't like the sound.
I don't know, man.
Which is a shame because it's a brilliant engine.
There's something about 8,000 RPM shifts
until it wipes the main bearings.
Well, yes, but now you're going to start talking crap about the E90 V8 next, aren't you? Aren't you?
I do love me that engine.
It's a great engine.
I do love me that.
Honestly,
engine.
as far as straight sixes go, the S54 is probably the one that stands out. Just because when it hit the market, everybody was floored. I remember when the specs came out, and I was like, "How the hell is that displacement putting out that power?" And then I drove one, and I'm like, "Okay, this is pretty fun." I owned a 2005 for a little while, an Imola Red, and what a power plant!
No, it is. It is a really good power plant, and I have it on my list, and I have the baby version of it too, the M54, which was you have your 330i, and all that, and it's that is a very, very good engine. You keep oil changes up to speed. You go through the cooling system once every 70,000 miles, and it'll go forever.
I'm
which
also
is
looking
hard
at
to say in BMW.
I'm looking at a lot of these power plants in a vacuum, so discounting the subframe falling apart.
Sure, yeah, just the engine itself,
wonderful engine.
Yeah, really good engine.
Are we moving on from sixes?
Couple of quick honorable mentions. The one I thought you were going to do was more of a show out. I thought you were going to do the show V6.
Well, I figured you talked about V6. Yamaha enough. Let's drop another one in there.
It's funny. If I go through my list, there are certain things that jump out, and that's Yamaha's got their hand in a lot on my list, which is interesting. It wasn't even designed. I got to the end of V8. I'm like, holy, wait a minute. Other real quick honorable mentions: the VQ, another engine I don't love the exhaust note on. But in the world of V6s,
reliable,
you have to mention
great power output for displacement. Absolutely.
Also in the world of V6, the GM 3800.
Super reliable.
Reliable. It's not sporting, but it's reliable.
You strap a supercharger on there in the GXP Grand Prix or something. That's right. Good power for its period.
Exactly.
Compared to
your Bonneville SSEI. Is it an inline six? Is it a VR? Is it a V6? It's the VR6.
Yeah.
VR6 is a cool motor.
How do you split that one?
Yeah, it's there's some
narrow
V to it.
Angle
There's a V involved.
V6s. Yeah.
Yeah, and what about terrible 6-cylinders?
The GM crap they were sticking in everything.
The 3.1s,
the 3.1s especially.
The 3.1's brutal.
Yeah, 3.4. I mean, the 3.1s. I remember them having 165 horsepower, and it's like.
And that was like the hypo version, the high output.
Ridiculous, right?
Yeah, you had that. You had. The Chrysler 2.7
Oof,
and the base chargers and stuff is a garbage engine. You had the PVR.
They stuck that in the Magnum, like a 4,200 plus pound car with a.
Just garbage engine. The PVR V6 that they put in the DeLorean and stuff.
Yeah,
terrible.
The Fiero
engine.
V6.
The Fiero V6.
Was that a 2.8? Was it 2.7 or 2.8?
It was a 2.8. And then you had the 3-liter Toyota V6, the one they put in the trucks and the 3VZE.
Yep.
Yeah, the one that just like ate bottom ends and head gaskets all day long.
So
they recalled
unreliable.
them, and then they were still unreliable, and they got like 0 miles a gallon. Just probably the worst engine Toyota has ever produced.
That's true.
In the world of 6 cylinders. What about 8?
Oh my
What
god,
about 8, my
8s are
friend?
fun. I'm gonna start us
8s
off.
are the most fun, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel like
I like inline 6s.
you know what? None of us
Damn it,
touched.
8s are great.
None of us touched like a twin turbo V6, which is funny because we could have
True.
said 300ZX twin turbo. We could have said
Yeah.
Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4,
Absolutely.
which are phenomenal at their time.
No, we didn't go twin turbo inline 6 even with the 2JZ.
True, and everything's twin turbo. 6.
Or RB series. We didn't go RB series, which is another fantastic engine. Not that we have a lot of experience with them here, but
But truly, we're jumping to V8s,
Yeah.
or 8 cylinders, and we got to look that most 8 cylinders are getting phased out for twin turbo 6s.
Right.
Which, was started
just like
in the
V12s are
90s.
getting phased out for twin turbo 8s. Hello, Senna behind us.
Yeah, well, he does all right with it.
It's okay. Yeah,
Works with what he's got.
it makes do. What would you make do with in the world of V8s?
Well, I got to shout out the 2UZ FE.
The which one?
The 2UZ.
The 2UZ. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're going truck edition.
Yeah, Land Cruiser. Like the most reliable engine ever made. Am I right? Am I getting that right?
It might be the most reliable engine ever made. I'm a fan of I have on my list the 1UZ,
Okay.
which is the 4-liter all aluminum twin cam version that you had in the SC400s and the LS400s.
Do you think more than the 470 Land Cruisers? 100 series.
Reliability, they're probably pretty on. They're probably pretty even, which is they both push the boundaries of sheer reliability.
Coming from a brand that's known for pure reliability,
I
which
just-
is amazing.
For me, the 1UZ is the better engine. A, it's all aluminum. B, it's I don't want to say single-handedly, but almost single-handedly made Lexus a successful brand. Because that is part of what made the LS400 so important.
Well, they
and
built those.
SC400s.
They built those at a loss, right? Just so they could get their foot in the
Sure.
door, because it was
Yeah.
a direct S-class competitor.
And the engine is so insanely smooth.
It
You've
is.
got million-mile Lexuses, and you've got all kinds of stuff that powering.
Sure,
is
but
just,
you see
it's-
Land Cruisers with higher mileage
Correct.
all the time, in much
Correct.
rougher environments than the LS saw.
But what's interesting is it's funny. Like I associate the 1UZ with Lexus, and I
Okay.
associate the 2UZ with Toyota
That makes sense.
because it's just the trucks and stuff. And both of those Toyota trucks and Lexuses are known for being like standard
Dead
bearers
nuts,
of reliability. And I think both of these engines are why. Right?
True. True.
Not to say that the other engines aren't reliable. It's just we turn our amps to 11. Our amps go to 11.
Turn
And
down
they
for
just go
what?
exactly. And so they like literally, it's just like Toyota reliability is 10. Well, no, those two motors are 11.
So
Like, that's
amazing.
11 out of 10.
Cool. Yeah, I figured we'd nail that. We'd both be somewhere there.
That is nailed. I have an interesting one. Maybe the Audi 4.2 liter.
Oh boy, you're talking like it's a. What did it originally like the RS4 was its first?
It was in the
big-
RS. It was in the RS4. It was in the standard S4,
S4,
just with
yep.
a different tuning and some different components. It was in the R8.
Nearly
the
100
the
horsepower
first gen
difference,
R8.
though.
Correct. Yeah, because you went from 340 horse in the S4 to
420.
Is it 420?
Somewhere up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is 420.
Well, that's just on my mind, man.
It is. Just like my mind is on my money and my money is on my mind.
419. Got a minute?
Exactly. Or got out of the mountains blue.
Yeah.
But really fun engine, so long as you don't have to worry about timing chains.
Yeah. Pull the front clip.
Oh, and the engine and the training.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
some of the 4.2, so that engine's funny because it was also
That's a word
in-
for it. Funny.
Well, it was also in like the S6 Avant, which we got here.
Yep.
It took twin turbos and was in the RS6
For 2003
for
only.
2003 only, 450 horsepower. And that engine was pretty stout in that. Transmissions were not. They had 8 transmissions up.
No, as an aside, that was a good-looking car.
Great car.
Subtle.
So
subtly
subtle,
sweet.
So
Yeah.
so tame in a good way.
Yeah.
But that engine, it sounds good. It revs well. It packages well.
100%.
They put it in a lot of things.
RS4
In the
revs
R8,
real well.
And the secret's been out for a few years now on the early R8s with a manual, V8 with a manual.
Oh, that's the one.
You for a minute, for like a quick window in time, you can get one for like high 50, high 40s, low 50s.
What a grab that would have been.
Yeah, now you can't even sniff that. Now you're probably 80s for a decent one of those.
If you can find one, yeah.
But I like that engine. Any other V8s?
Shout out to the modern Hemis 6.1.
Okay.
Is the most stout of the bunch. I think, Magnum SRT8 had one. We're talking 2006, 425 horsepower.
Yeah,
There was nothing.
And then it went 6.4. And what was the snafu in the 6.4? Did you have like the multiple displacement lifter situation?
Did they all have that? I can't remember.
The 5.7s?
The 5.7s definitely had that. And that was an issue. They had way more lifter failure issues with the 5.7s.
Wiping cams.
The 6.1 was stout because it was what they jammed in the SRT8s, Challenger, Charger, 300C, Magnum, of course. I just like that engine, man. That's like so much power. 420 pound-feet of torque, 425 horsepower. In 2006, a Mustang GT had 300 horsepower.
It did, and it was funny. That was like the Mustang GT in 06 was like, it was a couple years I would be like, wow, the Mustang has 300 horsepower. Like, that was a thing up in like till relatively recent. It's like, yeah, we're gonna best that by, nearly 50%.
Oh, insane! Dodge just dropped the dong on the table and everybody.
They did. They
then
were
it started
really
the horsepower
able to put their dick
war,
on the
right?
table.
Like it was
and they
like
did. Yeah, that was
Pontiac had the GTO, the Corvette Z06. These were the only other cars that were touching that number domestically.
Right, and
wild,
and not in a wagon like you can get in a Magnum. Yeah. So no, that's a good one. Keeping it land of Mopar. I'm gonna go throwback. The old 340.
Yeah.
The old Chrysler Small Block 340, which Chrysler Small Blocks, when talk, early Chrysler stuff, they talk Hemis and they talk big block stuff mostly, right? When you've got your 383s and your 440 6-packs and whatnot. The 340 was out of the box in 1968 with a I believe an advertised 6,500 RPM redline, but you can easily rev it to 7.
Oh yeah,
pushrod V8.
Pretty cool
in the late 60s, and it made power pretty much all the way through. I have one of these in my old Barracuda, which hasn't seen the road in a long time, so I'm out of practice driving with this engine.
Yeah.
But it has like an MSD chip,
that's cool.
MSD box, and it's got the little rev limiter chip, and I have a 7,500 RPM rev limit on it, and I've hit that before.
There's just something about
it. Out of a 60s pushrod V8.
It's wild. And it's super simple design. Like, you can take that engine apart pretty easily. Ask me how I know.
Yes.
And it didn't change. The new ones are pretty much same pushrod, single cam. Same
cam and block. Yeah, and I mean, they had big valve heads from the factory. They had lumpy cams from the factory, and those were also underrated. So they were rated factory at 275 horsepower, and nobody in Detroit was underrating stuff.
Right.
In the 60s and 70s. It was always the other way around. And that motor stock, and that was 275 like SAE gross.
Right.
Which back in the 60s was like, oh, if your engine, like I think like the Chrysler Slant 6 was advertised at like 145 horsepower, but Real World was putting out like 85.
Sure.
This was advertised at 275, and they were dynoing at 300.
Yeah.
And fully dressed at 300. Like, so that was kind of the little hidden gem in Mopar's category back then.
Love the Hemi too. Like, so much personality.
I mean, that's the elephant in the room.
It's safe to say we both get a semi for a Hemi.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been edging my brains out just talking about it.
Lord.
But that's where I would go. Do you have any other?
Just a shout out. I got to shout out the LS. I think we can't mention V8s without the LS. Old,
just like I think the F20C Honda was like the standard bearer.
Sure. The LS is just, it's been awesome for so long. It's really put, it used to be like just the Corvette Special, and then it started to trickle down to the other sportier models. Now you can LS swap anything. It's just a stout V8, great output numbers, and there's one for every occasion at this point. So whether you want to find that cheap truck engine and drop it in something fun, or you get a really high output crank engine.
Have you ever seen... So I guess there's a thing that, I don't know if it's popular, or at least it was, but like dudes would like rent like one of the new Silverado 2500s from U-Haul for the weekend.
Oh no.
And then just like take it into their garage and literally just do an enormous amount of uppers, and then swap out, like they would literally swap out their random 4.8 out, and they would swap it with the U-Haul truck, and then they'd return it, right? And they'd be like, oh, it's running funny, I don't know, and they just return it, and then they would pick themselves for the cost of like $80 for the weekend. They'd get themselves a new fully dressed 6.0 truck motor.
That's dirty.
To the point where I think I saw reports that U-Hauls were like spray painting the engines in the engine bay. So like if they knew if it came back, they would check and be like, it's not red or whatever. Like,
right.
And so they would.
That's the easy fix.
They would so like literally, that's how good that engine is. Is people are renting trucks from U-Hauls to steal the motors and engine swap and then return them.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. And I would just give one more quick shout out to. Have you ever driven the Volvo 4.4 V8? They put that in the XC90 V8s,
Nope.
and they put it in the S80 V8.
Never drove that.
Great little compact V8. Head design by Yamaha.
This guy had a
is.
dose of Yamaha crack today.
I don't know. It's funny because I naturally got that's when I got there, and I put that in there, and I went back over my list. I'm like, wait a minute. Yamaha touched this engine and this engine and
Puts
this
on
engine.
his
and this
Yamaha
engine.
cap after the podcast.
Exactly. Not a sponsor of the podcast. Yamaha.
Props to them. I mean, they make motorcycles. I'm sure they can massage some high revving nature into craziest engines. Which
I have no experience in it, but Hayabusa V8 sounds like a good time.
Boy.
And then we did mention the E90.
Yep.
M3 V8. The S56. I don't remember.
I gave up trying to track that out.
The S that. What's the worst V8?
What was it? The Cadillac Eldorado had a giant.
Oh, you going? Oh, the 500?
Yeah, that had a massive power.
I think we go North Star because North Star's
bad, but they had it in the Eldorado.
Which is a shame because it's good until it's
pre
bad.
North Star, right?
Yeah,
So
you're talking the 5. I think it's a 500.
Yeah, and it
500
has
cubic
like
inch front wheel drive.
130, 140 horsepower.
Yeah, and then
was
like 400 pound-feet of torque or something.
Yeah, but it redlined like a diesel engine.
It's like 7.8 to 1 compression.
Yeah. Those kind of V8s are what get under my skin, especially during the fuel crisis.
Yeah,
there were some V8s that were just.
Yeah, you had like the what was it? Didn't they do like a Chevy like 221 V8 or something? And then you had like the 267 V8 where like half the components were metric and half were SAE, and it's just like
ridiculous.
a complete mess.
Yeah.
I think also the worst V8. Audi 4.2. I had it on the best.
It's
also on the worst because of the timing chain problem and the direct injection carbon issues and stuff like that. It's a great engine, but it's a terrible engine.
Jeez. It's very manic.
I don't have a whole lot of... I have some experience with V10s and V12s. Do you have... what?
Not a lot. I've driven a Viper, like a first-gen Viper. That's
I've never
fun.
driven a Viper.
Oh, boy.
I've never driven a Viper. That's I don't want to call it a bucket list car, but that is the 90s poster.
Dude, I'm so upset
Poster.
that I didn't buy them when they were like low 30s.
and
they were like 18,000 miles.
Really nice.
Yeah,
really
God.
nice RT10.
And they didn't have a top at all. You just had to figure.
Yeah,
some
you
kind
just
of
get the
solution.
toupee.
Yeah,
Yeah, those
no
infinitely
radio,
cool.
no AC.
Infinitely cool. I don't know that I'm Viper guy.
I think they're
by
cool
that
enough.
I mean like
I think
they're cool enough, but like I don't know if I'm cool enough. Is what I'm getting at.
I don't
like,
know,
I don't know if
man.
I'm the dude that like rolls to the valet and gets out
it's
of a
not
Viper.
like that anymore. They're so
not now, I
analog.
suppose.
They're so analog and
Yeah.
so I don't know. Just from that state, I enjoyed
I
it.
kind of feel the same way about a Corvette though. Like at least like maybe like C6, C7, C8.
Yeah, I could see us getting into like a.
But if I get out, like I don't know if I want to be a
ZR1
Corvette guy. And it sucks because it's a great car, but there's such a stigma.
good car.
It's such a good car.
No, that's why you get the performance. When you get the ZR1 C4, you get a C5 Z06. No one's gonna fault you because
and you have to go
both
in
of
like
those-
the least like vape cloud douchey color combo
Dude,
possible. You got to go like white over black.
You
or
tell me
something.
you don't want to rock some jorts and some white New Balances. I know you do.
Yeah, just
I would do that just for shits and giggles.
Well, there's
to tell you the
two
truth.
ways. It's either you go full old man special and like you get the automatic and like you get out at the mall and you park at the back of the mall, or no, you park in the handicap spot.
Sure.
Even though you're not handicapped, and
Yeah.
then you get out with your California car duster and you dust it off before you walk into the.
should.
Before you get your glaucoma medicine, and then you get back in and you drive away. Or you go like full like
Track day
camber
weapon.
kit,
Yeah.
drift special,
Carbon fiber wing.
Yeah, like hit the median every time you leave a
What
parking
a
lot.
fucking
Yeah.
epic car, though, dude.
But yeah, it's a shame that that's the stigma, but it's a good car.
We're taking it back.
As far as V10s, so yeah, the Viper V10. Never driven an LFA, but that's got to be in the world of V10s.
Yeah, it's up there. That's like
It's kind of the standard bearer is the Viper V10. But I have driven the Audi 5.2.
yeah.
In the S6, which is motor felt good. I wish it was a manual because it felt a little bit hamstrung by the transmission. And it's just a big car. It's a heavy car.
Yeah, pretty large. Yeah.
But a cool. It's the same motor that's in the R8. Hopped up a little bit more in the R8.
They jammed those in the
and,
old S8s.
The S8, yeah, you can get an S8. You can get
that's right.
The one I drove was an S6.
Yep.
And then in the later Gallardo, the early Gallardo 5 liters, a different engine.
Yeah, it's different.
But they could eventually found its way into a modified version, a Gallardo. What's the Verse V10? Ford Triton V10 probably.
Probably, yeah.
Probably,
yeah.
Just spit spark plugs out of the cylinder head and make I don't know what they were, like 380 horse or something. I don't.
Yeah, there were some other ones.
Put them in motorhomes and stuff. You had the S85, the BMW one, which is a great motor until it didn't work.
When you press the M button, that's how you unlock the 500 horsepower, right?
Yeah, was it 505? I think
it was straight up 5, wasn't it?
Might
or was
have
it
been
5
or 50.
It was
Yeah,
one of those things.
It was,
one of those catches.
some number of a gene.
Yeah.
brand from then. How about V12s? You get behind any V12s?
Yes, I actually drove a Phaeton V12, which was interesting.
Ew.
That's pretty cool.
Is it a W12?
Yeah, it is a W12.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. 2 VR6s.
That's right. There you go.
Pretty cool.
Royal Union.
Heavy car. That car's way
Yeah.
heavier. I mean, it looks like a Passat.
What is it, like 4,600 or something?
I think with the W12 and because they only came all-wheel drive, fully loaded. Yeah.
Like
I
long
think
wheelbase.
it's up there.
It's heavy.
It looks the whole thing of the car is when you look at it, depending on what perspective you're looking at it, it looks like a freaking Passat still. Unless you have something for scale next to it.
Beast Passat.
Yeah,
It's like Passat had a one night stand with an S8.
Oh.
Was it the C2
I'd
generation S8?
I'd watch that video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You have to. Yeah, I'd film it.
It's German, so it's gonna be good.
Yeah, it'd be weird. It's in a dungeon for some reason. The really only 2 V12s I've spent any time with is I very briefly drove W140
Okay.
S600.
Yeah.
With the BMW M20 in it, which that's another engine that's like neutered by the transmission. But in that car, it's not terribly fast, but it just feels strong and
smooth, kind of cool,
insanely smooth. And then I've got probably 1,000 miles, mostly freeway, but behind the wheel of a DB7 Vantage Volante 6-speed. So that's the Aston Martin 6-liter.
Yeah.
Or 5.9, depending on how they wanted to brand it, whatever particular
Who's
day.
measuring?
Yeah, well, the only number that counts is 12, right?
Yeah.
V12, 6-speed manual, very strong. It felt very, very good. I think 420 horsepower.
Stout.
400 pound-feet of torque, and just sounded so good. Even just driving it like quarter throttle around town. And this is a convertible, right?
They sound wonderful.
So with the top down, it sounded fantastic. It felt really good. I was impressed with how strong it was. And it's funny, like people wouldn't necessarily put that as like the greatest V12s of all time. And the knock on it is people will be like, oh, it's just 2 Ford Duratec's glued together. It's like it's not that simple, homie. Like
but
they share architecture. But I always giggle when people say that about like, oh yeah, that's the Chevy 4.3 is just a V8 with 2 cylinders hacked off of it.
Oh yeah, same.
Which on that motor it actually kind of is.
But still,
there's a high performance V12 in an Aston Martin that's making 400 something horsepower, but with a manual.
With a manual, that's it. That's what makes it.
I don't care if the basic. The bore and stroke is shared with the Ford Durotec. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm bored.
It's a fun engine. It sounds great. I'm not bored with the stroke of that engine. What's the worst? What's the worst V12? You got a worse V12?
I would also say the Phaeton.
Yeah,
just because.
Fair. I mean, I always think it's probably going to be the 70s, 80s, 90s Jaguar V12, right? Because it just never worked, like ever.
True.
And it was always with like a GM 3-speed automatic behind it.
And if they weren't driven, every seal would go in like rapid fashion.
It's a V12, but it's usually a V11 because there's always some misfire somewhere, and there's like a fuel delivery problem, or there's like a wiring issue because it got hot. And
you know what? You got to put a positive mindset onto it because really it had cylinder deactivation before it was a thing.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately,
except the fuel economy went down.
Exactly. Yeah. It was just like pissing fuel into a dead cylinder. Yeah. Anything else we're talking about? Diesels. You a fan of diesels? I don't have a ton of experience with diesel.
I mean, honestly,
definitely. Yeah.
Family's everything.
I personally tend to live my life a quarter mile at a time.
I mean, I like TDIs because I got some money from that.
You did
a while back.
You did, yeah. You lived your TDI.
They were
life.
fine. They weren't that reliable. Found out they weren't being that efficient or safe to the environment.
No, it's just like
they were fine. Torque was good, but I never thought it to be that great.
Yeah.
I had the TDI Jetta Cup Edition, which was kind of cool.
Correct. Yeah, that's
in
cool.
retrospect. You could get that with a manual. I unfortunately only got the automatic. They only made like 1,500, so I was lucky to get that.
Right.
And I had an A3 TDI, same
Sure.
power plant.
Yep.
But
I've never owned a diesel. The OM 617, the Mercedes. Mm-hmm. That's the old 5-cylinder oil burner and the old like 124s and 123s.
They made a few of those, I heard.
Yeah, they made
Like
a few, and probably 80% of them are still out there clicking and clacking away. Good engine. That's another one that's just like you're flat out at any time that you're driving anything that's powered by that.
Can't help it.
But like it never begs out. Like it's like that's where it wants to be. It's just pinned. And then the later one, I drove a W210.
Oh yeah.
E320 turbo diesel. This one was a 99, I believe.
Very fresh.
And I think that was the OM 616.
Okay.
Swell of power. It felt strong. I think those cars out of the box ran like a 15.9 quarter mile or something like that.
Yeah, that's not bad
for a diesel E-Class from the 90s. Very cool car. That would be it. And I don't know. Does anyone care about bad diesels? What, the old diesel from like the 80s?
Oh,
or
God.
The maybe the Audi ones from the 80s that had like the runaway diesel thing.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know enough about diesels to know good or bad.
Well, that was a great engine talk. I mean, I'm sure there's some more opinions, guys. Leave them in the comments.
Yes.
Or, what have you. I'm sure we missed some iconic power plants, but I think we nailed some good stuff.
Are you good? Is it your time to try and nail me in the quiz? Or am I? You're quizzing me this week, right?
That's right, baby.
Oh boy. You boy. Okay, let me tuck my screen away and get.
Excuse me? I didn't even know.
No, exactly. There's no tape involved. Do you have an advertisement?
I do.
We're
gonna see if you're gonna be able to crack this code.
Okay, and for the uninitiated, my friend Chadwick here is gonna find a piece of automotive print copy from the 80s, 90s, possibly the early 2000s.
Yes.
He's going to read that print copy, redacting out the pertinent information that might give away the make and model of this vehicle.
As best I can.
And it's on me, Frank, to try and figure out. I got 3 guesses
on
what the make and model is.
Yep.
I can beg for hints between each miss if I choose. Chadwick, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you sure about that?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
All right. So, overly awesome ad, like always.
Mm-hmm.
That sports car you always wanted? Question mark.
Sports car.
So that's
check.
the major font at the top, the header. We have a vehicle in red front 3/4 view.
Okay, red.
Gorgeous.
Sports car I've always wanted. Okay.
You ready for this?
I rock Camaro.
We're going to start off with some... Fun of that too. And I'm retiring. This is going to be a lot of technical specs, which we love. So
good.
Let's start it right off, baby.
Yes.
You're probably going to get this from the...
It was great, baby.
Shoot from the hip.
Yep.
With its 2.4 liter, 12 valve, 140 horsepower engine, multi-link independent rear suspension, and sticker price under $14K. US money. The new seater. Sorry. I didn't want to give it the seating configuration. I will say that for another day.
Wait. Okay, I thought you were going to say a year, like 2000.
No.
Okay.
Is a lot of sports car, but you, Frank, can handle it.
Oh, I can. Okay.
I'm not going to say the tagline for the company.
Okay.
That's all you get. It's all tech specs.
Ooh. So you said 2.4 liter, 12 valve.
Yeah, and I'll give you a 2-door. Sorry.
2-door.
Yep.
Okay. Not 2-seater.
No.
2-door.
What are we talking about, man?
2.4, 12 valve.
You know.
So it's either a 6-cylinder with 2 valves per head, or it's a 4-cylinder with 3 valves per head. I don't think it's a 3-cylinder with 4 valves per head.
That would be something.
That would be with
That'd be stump-worthy.
2.4 liter. Because I think a V6, who brags that their 6-cylinder A is 2.4 liters, which is kind of an odd displacement for a 6-cylinder, and also that has like the literally bare minimum number of valves for that thing to operate.
Well, Mazda had a 1.8 in the M10.
They did have a 1.8.
That put out a lot
I
else.
can't off the top of my head think of a single 6-cylinder that's a 2.4. I know of some 5 cylinders, but that math doesn't add up. Unless there's like fractional valves involved.
Well, half moon valve.
Boy, 140 horsepower. The sports car that I've always wanted. Bright freaking red. I'm gonna go with Chevy Cavalier Z24. Final answer, Bob.
Been looking at those really hard because
sorry.
the Z24 you could get with the 3.1 liter V6,
Correct.
but I think it had a little more pony than that. I think
It
came
did.
with 160.
And that was a 3.1. I thought that you can get that with a 4-cylinder too, or no?
Not the Z24.
Only-
I don't
not the
think.
Z24,
Yeah, I think that was
okay.
only 6.
I think the 24 and the 2.4 are hanging me up. But I said final answer, so that's in the books. So I'm assuming that's an
Cavalier
incorrect.
Z24, which I love that answer. What kind of hint you want, man?
I feel like this is a U.S. domestic manufacturer. Is that correct or incorrect?
That's incorrect. It's not a U.S. domestic.
Okay. All right. The sports car I've always wanted. A 2.4 liter. I can't think of a Mazda. That was a 2.4 off the top of my head. This does compute, my friend.
Oh,
So I'm thinking a pig-nosed red S13 240 SX with the single overhead cam 12 valve 2.4 liter K24. Not D, is it? No, not DE. The D stands for dual overhead cam. I'm going to say 1990 Nissan 240 SX. Final answer, Bob.
all right. So sticker price under $14,000 was another big part
Correct.
of this. The new 240 SX is a lot of sports car, but you, Frank,
Boy,
handled it.
how did I forget about that in the world of
don't know.
2.4? Because 2.4, like it's very obvious for that. My head kept going to the 22 RE.
The Drift
And the
Boys,
Toyota,
the
which
Drift
is a
Boys
truck
were
motor.
shaking their fists.
They were. My brain was
What a
swimming
gorgeous
around and look at that, the
simple
pig
ad.
nose
What
edition.
a gorgeous
Yeah.
ad. Yeah, that's it, guys. The 240 SX sticker price for $14K will cost you more today, and it won't even have matching VIN numbers on all its body panels.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It'll have been deriftoed into oblivion.
What a beautiful car. Man, if they stuck the SR20 in that,
Yeah, if we got that here stateside.
with an SR20 turbo, imagine the prices on them right now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30K car, at least.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably.
At least.
It's a good one. Now that's a clean stock car. Does not exist anymore. You know,
And if you do find one, it is
it's like that
astronomical.
AE86 Corollas that don't exist in stock form anymore.
Sure. Nice, man.
Good. Okay, I'm glad I was able to sort that one out because I was.
Well, you know what?
I knew it had to have been. No one brags 12 valves in a 6-cylinder. Get out of here.
Not at all.
It's
So-
just like it has valves.
Congrats, second
you.
guess. Let's celebrate with some party favors.
I'm down to get dusted. You want to do some PCP?
Ooh. I already had some for breakfast, but let's have
I would say
round.
be still my heart, but it's about to do the exact opposite on
Yeah,
account
it's
of
gonna jump out
on
of your
account of
chest.
PCP. What have you been up to, my friend? What have you been twerking on?
So, been twerking on stage, but I've been
Yes.
working on the
Exactly.
Honda Accord V6 manual. That is wrapped up, ready to rock and roll, man. So I'm
Cool.
looking at shooting the review possibly tomorrow. It's been wonderful. The last thing I had to do was the axles. I told you I had that vibration under hard acceleration.
Yes.
And if you guys ever feel like that, there's a big difference between like a loose tire or a tie rod. You really should learn like what causes it because if you make assumptions. So it was the axles. I got in, shook the inner axle, vibrated, got that taken care of. Immediately took it out and beat the crap out of it.
Yep.
What a
Brilliant.
smooth engine. And that 6-speed manual,
made it on my list.
that 6-speed manual is what really makes that car.
Yeah,
to tell you the
Honda
truth.
and manual transmissions are kind of undefeated. Like,
Well, they're
really,
automatics
really
at the
good.
time. It didn't help that
were
they
garbage.
were absolutely
Yeah,
like
they just ate themselves at any opportunity.
this car's at 219,000
Yep.
miles, and it probably would be on its 3rd or 4th automatic transmission. Not
Yes,
even that's
one
not
would be
even like
replaced
a joke.
under warranty. One would be replaced just outside of warranty, and then it would be like limping itself on its 3rd one right now.
Yeah,
It
or
would be,
someone
like,
swapped out a known used one.
correct.
right?
Yeah, one of like exactly.
From a junkyard.
Well,
But-
good. I'm glad it's sorted and it's on the road to for video making and for probably selling. So
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
super
eat.
excited. What do you think the 0 to 60 is going to be, my friend? I like this little betting
That
game
number,
we do.
okay, 0 to 60. I'm
Yeah.
going to say 0 to 60 in 7.4.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's going to have a little spice to it.
I have 7.2.
You're 7.2.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're right there.
Okay. I almost went 7.6. I'm like, no, it's stronger than that.
Oh.
219,000 miles. It's just broken.
Yeah,
in,
240 horsepower.
Yes.
Yeah,
Plus, I know you're
7.2.
going to do like a 6,000 RPM clutch dump. So.
Well, I am now because you said 7.4. So
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta edge you out.
I gotta hold you through that. What have I been up to? Project Grand Vitara. I know we talked about briefly before last epi about I replaced oxygen sensors and it still hadn't set the smog monitor. It passed smog. I was able to get that monitor set. I cleared everything,
Sneaky.
and it immediately just one simple cold start. Doink, drove it 15 miles. It set it. Took it right through smog.
Yeah, you see that green check mark? You're
Yep.
like, smog place.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Before I shut it down or give it any opportunity for anything to go sideways. So it is smogged,
That's
which is
awesome.
good because now I can I went to the DMV and I finished up the registration process, so I've got a title en route.
Mr. Legit over here.
However, I have some concerns about my Sienna,
Oh, yeah.
and so it may or may not be consuming coolant. I'm still on the fence. I'm figuring that out. I'm hoping it isn't, but if it is, it might be a head gasket issue or a bad head or something, which would be no bueno. But it's never gotten hot. There's no excuse for it. It would have just been fluky. So I think I'm going to sell the Grand Vitara. So I have
Okay.
got some fix my Sienna money in my pocket.
All right.
So that will be a short-lived Suzuki ownership situation.
Still, get it while you can. So
But
I'm going to
yes,
send
get it while the going is
some
good.
Toyota hopes and prayers your way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, moment of silence. Yeah, so that's what's up. It has passed smog. I have it listed currently on Facebook Marketplace for $3,500, and if I get 3 for it, I'll be happy.
Check it out.
I'm in it probably $1,400, all said and done.
Okay, not bad.
So yeah, I bought it for $700 with the smog issues.
Cool.
I'm in it another probably $350 in parts. $100 in registration.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, what's that? That's $1 an hour. So, $50 to smog it. So, it is what it is. We'll see.
That's a good deal.
But it's done.
Let's wrap
And I
this.
think we're done
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
every time. The
Say what? Excuse me?
people that are listening, thank
Yeah.
you. We much appreciate it. The people that are watching on the YouTubes, thanks for doing the same. Thanks for checking out the cool, fun stuff in the background with the Senna and the
Probably-
GT3 and the Panhard.
Right, complaining about us being in the way of these fantastic vehicles.
I know. I'm just like doing my best to not like accidentally roll this chair back and like break a piece of carbon that costs $100,000. So yes, shout out to the homies at Car Park for putting us up and
Yep.
putting up with us once again. And if Chadwick, if people want to see what you're doing,
Yeah.
how do they do that?
Auto Obsessive Garage, you guys can follow. I should have an Accord review up shortly, but all kinds of other fun stuff. Me
Yes.
wrenching on usually garbage.
Yes, and that's on the YouTube,
Yeah,
correct?
the YouTubes, yeah.
Yep, the tubes of the Ube, not the lube of the tube.
Yeah, not the
am
red
at-
tubes.
No, not red tubes.
Anymore.
Not Wrench Hub. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Oh, it's
It
coming.
should be.
That's coming.
But yeah, no, bad choice of phraseology.
I always finish. A proper-
I can be found over at the Photographer's Garage. That's on the Instagram, YouTube. I float around there every now and then. We are at APA Podcast on Instagram.
That's
Come
correct.
hit us up. Drop us some questions, some answers, some incredibly rude comments,
Harsh criticisms.
and then come see us again next week.
Yeah.
So until then,
Thanks a lot, guys.
thank you.
Take care.
Bye.